haven't met him, this is Floofer. Why are you hiding behind your toy? This is his busy mate. Floofer is a 2-month-old Corgi puppy, and I'm not going to hold him too much because he gets kind of fidgety, but you would have seen him in my surprising my parents with a Corgi video. He's a gift to my parents, and I have taken up the role as his mother for his first 3 weeks. He's been photobombing my Instagram stories quite a lot, and I've been getting a lot of questions about training him, all stuff like that. Tips on puppy training, what's been working super well, and then at the end I'm going to talk about kind of my first impressions, the first few weeks of the Corgi as a breed and what I think of it so far, some pros and cons. But I thought I would change it up and kind of make it a daily vlog, also break up the different segments of the video because we're going to the beach, and I thought it would just be a fun way to film the video. I was really inspired by Ryen from VlogAfterCollege's videos, who has been a massive Corgi resource for me. First thing on my list, is it really that hard to raise a puppy? I definitely think that you need to be in a certain place and have a certain level of maturity and willingness to have that responsibility in your life. I think anybody can do it. It's how well you want to do it is sort of the real question. I am freelance, I don't have any other commitments right now, so it's been super easy for me to really dedicate some time with him, have a bit of a bond with him, and do all those things that are super important in the first few weeks. I personally don't understand why you would get a dog if you have, if you work really long hours and you work late, stuff like that, because I personally don't think that would be fair to the dog. Even just leaving the house for a couple of hours or even a day or going on vacation becomes so much more of a big deal when you have a puppy, because they rely on you for everything, to feed them. They're pretty much the closest thing to having a baby. It's a lot of responsibility, so if you think you're ready for that, then by all means get a puppy. Adoption versus buying a puppy. Now this is something that kind of came up in some of the comments when I posted picking up Floofer. Yeah, it's definitely each to their own. I am generally not into pure breeds at all. I just don't really care for them. I really prefer mutts. I came from a lovely family who was not a puppy farm or anything like that. They just have a couple of Corgis that have litters from time to time, and I got the very, very last puppy. Like I said, each to their own. I've seen it, I've been on both sides of the pond, and I just think at the end of the day, every dog needs a home. And the main reason why I didn't mind paying a little bit of extra money for this dog was because my parents are nearly in their 60s. I wasn't going to be here that long to train the dog, and I wanted something with some kind of predictability. And with pure breeds, you do tend to have a better sense of what to expect in terms of their temperament and what they're going to kind of be like. There's certain traits that you can kind of predict. And also I got to meet his family, I got to see their temperament, I got to see what kind of dog he's probably most likely going to be, and it just was the right fit for our family. I saw him, I went with my gut instinct. I had been looking for months and months and months on adoption websites. I went to see a couple of dogs with my mom at adoption agencies, and it just didn't feel right. That's all for this segment. Time to go to the beach and talk about my puppy training tips. But I can tell you I feel like one. I think I've watched about 100 hours worth of puppy training videos, and I'll get on to my recommendations for that in a second. But definitely one of the main things I picked up was that straight away you need to establish yourself as an assertive, strong leader for your dog to respect you. So I went straight into mommy mode, and we went right into kind of trying to set out a routine the following day, which kind of consisted of him waking up, him having some exercise, going to the potty, and then after about 10 or 15 minutes exercise, I give him his food, and then once he had his food, it was kind of a little bit more exercise maybe, and then time for a nap. We just repeat that for lunch and dinner, because with the puppy you kind of tend to feed them about 3 times a day. And then he usually goes to bed at around 10:30, 11 at night. He's pretty pooped by then. Sometimes it takes him a while to settle, but he does generally like to go to bed. The
The main reason why I would suggest having a routine is it really helps with potty training, because you can pretty much predict when your dog needs to go. Usually when my dog, first thing in the morning after he's been sleeping and after his nap, he would usually go for a poo every single time, and he needs to wee maybe like every hour. Following on from that, when you first get your puppy, try and stick to 1 or 2 rooms. It can be really overwhelming for a puppy exploring an entire house all at once. So for the first few weeks, I would just say dedicate 1 room and puppy proof it. So it could be the area they sleep in and spend most of their day in if they're inside, and just kind of remove anything that you think would be destroyed or damaged, things like blinds, things like, I don't know, if you've got any expensive furniture or little bits and bobs, things that a puppy can dig his teeth into, you kind of want to remove. And this kind of, you know, there's a little bit of give and take here. You know, there is going to be things your puppy chews on, and you can greatly reduce the amount of things, but you also need to kind of let them have something at some point. Like, they will inevitably ruin something, and it's a really simple answer to make your dog basically not do any of the things you don't want it to do. And I'll get to that in a second. Next tip is get them used to as much as possible in their first 12 weeks. Most times you will get your puppy, especially from a breeder, at around 8 weeks old. Anything earlier than that is a little too early to be taken away from the mother, but 8 to 12 weeks is the most important, crucial time. If you want your dog to get used to certain things, if you want your dog to be open to everything, you need to get them out there, get them out meeting other dogs, get them out socializing with people, get them used to the hoover, the bath, things like that. If you want them not to be afraid of something, this is the time to do it. They still may be afraid of those things, but it's a process. Introduce everything very slowly. They usually say 8 to 12 weeks because after 12 weeks a switch goes off in the dog's brain and they're a lot less open to trying new things and not being afraid of things. So super important that you get as much in this time as possible, which is pretty much my dog's age right now. I have definitely learned so much about taking care of puppies from Zach George's videos, which are completely free on YouTube, and they're a massive resource. He's literally hundreds of videos on how to train puppies and dogs and all that kind of stuff, and I've watched pretty much all of the puppy ones. Also Cesar Milan from the Dog Whisperer, a ton of his videos are all online. There's one specific one about how to raise the perfect dog. Really recommend giving that a watch on YouTube as well. Definitely recommend people like Zach George. I'll put his puppy playlist in the description below. Most of the things that puppies do that are annoying, like wrecking stuff in the house and barking, all that kind of stuff, can almost always be solved with exercise. A tired dog is a good dog, and that's something that I'm really religious with. Even 10 or 15 minutes 3 times a day with Floofer is enough to take, like, really tire him out. And especially when we take him out on days like this where he's out for an hour and a half, he's pooped for the rest of the day. They love their exercise, so give them what they need and they'll be good dogs. A couple of products I would recommend definitely for a puppy. A harness is really great. I found it really easy to leash train Floofer with his harness, and he's taken really well to it. I know some dogs don't as well. My last dog definitely didn't take to a lead for a while, but the harness, you definitely have so much more control over the puppy. If you're trying to spend some time in the evenings with your dog, you want to take him in another room, but there's a lot of wires or areas you don't want your dog to go in, I definitely recommend using puppy spray. It's like a training spray, so you can get sour apple from a lot of pet stores, or just training puppy spray, and you can spray it on any areas you feel like they're chewing a lot and that they're going into a lot, and they'll tend to just be, it leaves a bitter taste in their mouth basically, so they'll tend to kind of not go over there again. And then recently I got this really awesome like dry puppy shampoo. It's not exactly dry, it's a foam, but if you don't have time to wash your dog all the time and you just want them to smell fresher and just give them a quick clean in between proper baths, this product is actually really good. Okay, it's getting a bit dull. I think we better get back in the car before the Irish rain comes back and ruins the sunshine. So this package came from DPD today, and I have a feeling it's not for me. It's a present for Floofer. Thank you so much, the guys at Edelman, you know who you are. Puppy food, jelly, lots of cool stuff. So he got his own little hamper. I've never gotten a hamper from anyone in my life, and this little guy, who's none the wiser, doesn't even know he's about to be traumatized in the bath. Yeah, do you love them, Floofer? Do you love them yet? He's just like, open it now. He doesn't like it very much, do you? But you were very good. You were as good as can be.
Oh, let's get you all warmed up, mister. Let's get you back in the sun. Let's get you back in the sun. Okay, I'm good. I got my fresh t-shirt on and I'm rolling into the last part of the video, which is for those of you wondering a little bit more about the Corgi breed itself. And I have a couple of things to mention. Some things that I've noticed so far, some things I think were true to the description of the dog. Rolling into the cons first. If you don't like dogs that shed, a Corgi may not be for you. Now, so far I haven't noticed any extreme shedding. My dog shed daily as well, and my mom, whether we have a dog or not, pretty much vacuums like every single day. So that's not something we found noticeable. His hair doesn't really stick to our clothes that much. Twice a year, so kind of in the spring and then coming up to the winter, they pretty much shed one of their coats, and you will see a lot of pictures on the internet of Corgi owners brushing their dogs and there will literally be a dog size amount of hair. Like, it's pretty crazy. Number two is something that you'll find in a lot of different puppies, but especially in herding breeds like Corgis and any kind of dog that was bred to work on a farm. But like any teething puppy, they like to bite a lot, but I find with him in particular, he loves to bite into skin, he loves to bite with ankles, he loves to play with your hems of your pajamas and your clothes and all of that stuff. He likes to bite into your fingers, and because puppies' teeth are so sharp, it can make it really difficult to play with them because the bite inhibition isn't quite there yet. They just don't know that they can't bite that hard. We have no fur to protect us, and it's just something puppies do with each other all the time. Just like a baby, they're teething, it's hurt, their gums hurt, it's painful, and there's a couple of things that have helped with that. So kind of laying down the law and when it's too hard to bite really helps. Yelping didn't really work for me, to be honest. He just saw it as more play, so we actually don't really punish him at all because he's not a bad dog. He doesn't really do a lot of things that are punishable, so we just use treats to actually show him what we like him to do, and they are dogs that aim to please, they want to please you. So if you just keep showing them and are consistent with showing you what you want them to do. Timeout, so every time he bites really hard, we leave him in a quiet area such as the kitchen with no toys, no entertainment, and we just leave the room for 30 seconds to 5 minutes, and when he comes back in, he's always like a little bit calmer. And again, consistency, when you do this 5 or 6 times in a short space of time, they kind of get the picture, so that definitely has helped, believe it or not. But probably the best thing about him is that he's a super quick learner, and it's honestly blown our minds how smart this dog is. Corgis are known to be smart, but I really did not expect a dog to be capable of picking up things so quickly and really just having a lot of common sense for a just over 2 month old puppy. Pretty much as soon as we got him home, he was pretty much potty trained. He did a couple of wheeze when he first came because of pure excitement, and then after that we got him used to the kitchen more because that's kind of his home and where he sleeps at night and stuff like that. And he really knows that it's not good to pee or poo in the area that you sleep, so he's picked that up really quickly. He's never ever pooed indoors. He's really able to hold that until the following morning, and then for his pees, he just goes on his puppy pad at night time because he doesn't cry, believe it or not. He doesn't cry to be let out. He doesn't cry at night at all. He only cried for the first night. That's been like one of the biggest godsends with him because it's just like, it makes the whole experience so much more fun. I don't know if it's a Corgi thing. I don't know if it's because he got a chance to hang out with his own pack and see what all the adult Corgis that he came from were doing. And we've actually kind of trained him to go in one area of the garden, whether he's in the front or the back. We tend to stick to the right hand side of the garden. Same with tricks. He picks up tricks really quickly. He pretty much knew sit somehow by the time he got to our house. Like, he just knew sit already. And then he also picked up paw and lie down pretty quickly also. He learned paw in about 5 minutes, I would say, like so quickly, and then he learned lie down in about 20 minutes. It was a little bit harder with that, and we need to do that daily. 10-minute sessions, maybe 2-3 times a day out in your garden is great, and it's also mental stimulation for your dog as well, so it's exercise for your dog's brain. It'll tire them out. Another thing is he is so clean. He stays clean really easily. He's a weatherproof coat, so when he's outside and if he gets dirty, it kind of just crumbles off his fur. Lastly, I don't know if this is a thing with Corgis. I have read some Corgis are like this, but they are decently independent for sure. As soon as he came home, I wanted him to be okay by himself. Our last dog had
quite bad separation anxiety for many years until he kind of calmed down in his older years. So we wanted to make sure that this puppy from the beginning knew that we would be leaving for a couple of hours every now and again, and even when we're just in the house, we just make sure that he has like an hour in the garden by himself, full of toys. He goes out and he plays, he has a nap, and he just goes exploring the garden by himself, and that's like something that's really important. Lastly, I would say please before you buy any dog, please do your research. Every dog has its pros and cons, and for example, if you love one particular breed, whether it be a husky or a labrador, there will always be a con, and you need to make sure that you are able to cope with that con in order to like move forward. You don't want to buy a dog that requires exercise you can't give it, has a tendency that you dislike. Maybe you don't want a dog that barks a lot. You know, those are all things you need to take into account. A small corgi like this will be prone to barking and nipping for a little while he's teething on the ankles, but I do believe that with training and the way you approach your dog, you can train them to not do a lot of the things you dislike. So for example, we're really not encouraging him to bark at all. Clicker training is really good as well with corgis. So that's a big bye from us. You're such a good boy having your treat. He's had the best day ever, haven't you? I'm so glad I made this video because one day I'm going to look back and see how small he is. But he's been such a sport today. I hope you enjoyed all my tips on what it's like taking care of a little puppy. I hope it eased some of your anxieties, because I was definitely really anxious the first couple of days. I didn't eat, I didn't sleep very well until he kind of settled in. So I hope it helps, and don't forget to give the video a big floofer thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Don't forget to subscribe.